Okay. All right. We all knew this was going to happen sooner or later. We gotta have to talk about Foxy in this one. I know. Trust me, I know. It's okay. Foxy only shows up for a brief moment in this story. He's in. He's out. None of the filler crap happens in the manga. It's just he's in and he's out. He shows up one more time during Vegapunk's message, adrift at sea in a little dinghy, and that's it. All right? So, it's okay, though. It's all right. We're not going to be talking about Foxy's personality as much in this episode. Normally, when I discuss the Devil Fruit users, I usually go into a little bit of their backstory, like talking a little bit about Bellamy's past and everything, you know, joining Doflamingo's crew. Yeah, we're probably not going to do that too much with Foxy here. Foxy's Devil Fruit, on the other hand, as well as the arc he is in, the concept of the Davy backfight in Long Ring Longland, I'm fine with. It's just that Foxy's character I just don't like very much, okay? Well, let's get into it. Oh, before we get into it, just to put it off even a little bit longer, I wanted to give a shout out. This is a list of every single Devil Fruit in the story and the order of which it was revealed in the manga. So I wanted to thank the Reddit user Sergeant Pepper 07. I was actually listening to Sergeant Pepper's when I was, you know, like going through all of the Devil Fruits, like, and trying to figure out, like, oh, okay, what order am I going to do all these in? So there you go. But Sergeant Pepper 07 made this nice little convenient list that I printed out, and it has every single Devil Fruit in order. And as you can see, I marked off all the ones I've already discussed. So we're moving right along. I think with the way that I'm going to cover the zones, because there's like 5 or 6 different dog zones, I'm going to throw all those in like one video. So there'll be a dog zone video, and then a bird zone video, and then a cat zone video, right? With a few exceptions, like when it comes to mythical zones, I feel like those can be their own standalone videos for the most part. So like Marco is going to get his own video with the Phoenix Fruit. Sengoku's going to get his own video with the Buddha. I'll cover most of the dog zones in one video, but then Yamato's Okuchi no Makami will be its own separate thing, okay? So there's enough to talk about there. So that's the way I'm going to do it. Probably going to do about 50 videos or so, more or less. So that's the ultimate goal, so that's why we're trucking along with these. Okay. Anything else I can do to distract, put off, not talk about Foxy? Okay, all right, let's do it. Let's just talk about it. One more thing. To truly get the full vibe of this video, you should probably go down there and adjust it to half speed. So I say everything slower now, because that is the power of the Noro no Mi. The slow fruit. Okay. So the slow fruit, I'm just going to say it. Oda went way more scientific than this one, than any other Devil Fruit. Like, Oda doesn't have to give a scientific explanation how Buggy can split apart his body and then move them around in a fixed area. It just is, all right? But with this one, for whatever reason, Oda was, like, compelled to kind of explain it through, like, scientific means. Like, yes, the Noro no Mi produces these special photons. Okay, so photons. So we're using physics lingo here, okay? So we're using photons, which are like light particles. Particles without mass. That's what a photon is, right? Like, okay, and I'm just going to really rely on the physics majors out there for this one, okay? So it's like, all right, they're called slowpoke photons. All right, that's like the English version of them, or slow motion photons, all right? They're like regular photons, except they're purple. I don't know what color regular photons are, but I assume they would be like yellow, because, you know, yellow, light, you know, like, or white or whatever, but whatever. These ones are purple, all right? So just, there you go. That's one difference. The other difference is that anything these photons come in contact with is slowed down. What this means is, and Foxy even says this, Foxy might at least have like a high school diploma. He might have at least gotten his GED here, because he's talking about this in the sense of like, yes, anything these photons come in contact with, whether it be an animal or a plant or a liquid or a solid or a gas, will have their energy maintained, but their velocity will be reduced at a fixed rate, basically rendering them slow motion for about 30 seconds until they resume their regular speed. He also does go on to say, and I feel like this is Oda just having fun with it, Oda also says, these particles aren't really understood by modern science. Ah, yes. But has Vegapunk had a chance to examine these, Foxy? I wonder. Okay, kill Foxy. That shouldn't be too hard, right? He's just floating out in the middle of the ocean right now. Kill Foxy, have his devil fruit being reincarnated, and then have one of the Vegapunks stumble upon it. It can even be York. Have York stumble upon the Noro Noro no Mi and have her weaponize it into the Pacifista Mark IIIs or the Seraphim or something, right? I'm even okay if you have a Seraphim that is based off, not based off of Foxy, but has Foxy's devil fruit. That would be okay. Like, I don't know, like we have all the original members of the Warlords, right? Like Crocodile and Doflamingo and Boa and everybody, but there's still some other Seraphims that might show up. Like we might have a Seraphim of Law. We might have a Seraphim of Blackbeard, maybe. I don't know. Make a Seraphim of Edward Weevil, but give him the slow fruit. And that would actually be really devastating, I think, right? There you go. So yeah, I don't know if Vegapunk has had time to really examine this stuff and just like, quasar, slow motion photons, you say? You know, it's like, all right. So it's really funny because when Foxy is giving this kind of scientific explanation, like velocity and energy and liquids and gases and solids and all that, Luffy's just like, that doesn't make any sense. Are you some kind of idiot or something? And then Foxy's like, whatever the light touches slows down. And Luffy's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Why didn't you say that from the beginning, idiot? It's like, yeah, so you have to dumb it down a shade for Luffy to make it sound smarter, okay? It's a slow motion beam, okay? It's like a 1950s cartoon where it's like, this is the slow motion ray. And then, oh, I'm slow now. Now, Foxy uses it in a variety of clever ways. I gotta give it to him, okay? Foxy's whole method of fighting when we saw in the final round of the Davy back on the deck of the Sexy Foxy, that was the name of his ship, and he's fighting Luffy. Even though Luffy was aware, and Foxy was rather nice to actually explain to the Straw Hat crew what his ability does. He didn't have to do that. There was nothing in the context of the Davy back that made him explain what his power does. He just kind of does, right? So, like, he uses it to freeze cannonballs. Like, he'll launch a bunch of cannonballs and then use the beam to slow them down so he can walk on them. But then when Luffy tried to walk on them, Foxy was like, oh, by the way, those ones are about to return to their regular velocity. So he's really good at, like, I guess keeping track of the 30 seconds. Well, kind of and not really, because the first time he explained this ability, he, cannonballs coming at him. He uses the slow beam to slow it down, and he's, like, giving the explanation. He's like, yes, this cannonball right here will be slowed down for 30 seconds or so until the velocity returns to its normal, and then it explodes in his face. So it makes you seem like Foxy's an idiot at first, which he is, but it's just like, oh, man, he can't even keep track of his own ability. That might have actually have been some subterfuge, because later on in the final battle, yes, the way that Luffy ultimately beats him with the mirror inside of his glove, that was something that, like, you know, okay, he could have probably, I don't know if Foxy could have really foreseen that, though. That was something that Luffy was a little clever there. But the idea is he's going to make himself look stupid with his devil fruit, but then when they were on the ship and they were actually fighting, he had a pretty good handle on that 30 seconds and knowing when it was going to run out and when when was the perfect time to attack, right? The thing is about Foxy, though, he wasn't even really that clever, but Luffy still fell for a lot of his tricks. So that might have been Oda kind of showing us that, like, look, Luffy's really, really strong at this point. He beat Eneru and Crocodile, both very, very strong Logia users in the story. And now in this arc, we're going to fight against a guy who is honestly so many rungs below Eneru and Crocodile. Right? Like, Foxy does not have a powerful Logia. He has a decently strong Paramecia, if used correctly. I'll give him that. He only has a bounty of 24 million. That's lower than Luffy's first bounty. So it's like we're going from this, like, Bond villain leader of Baroque works with a sand Logia in a desert country that, like, almost straight up killed Luffy, like, 2 times. Then we go to Skypiea, where we have this, Greek god Zeus on high throwing lightning bolts everywhere with psychic abilities to know what everybody's saying about him, Eneru. Then we go to this dipshit, right? And it's like, this dipshit actually gave Luffy a little bit of trouble. So if nothing else, that does go to show that, like, yeah, Luffy has some ways to improve in that front. So one simple way that Foxy tricks Luffy with this, and it's very, I mean, it's simple. It's something that, like, a kid would come up with, but it worked on Luffy. So Luffy's on the ground, right? And Foxy's, like, right next to him, and he kind of rears back his boxing glove, and he's like, and now I'm gonna use my beam. And then Luffy is like, oh, he's gonna use his beam. I gotta jump out of the way. So Luffy jumps up in the air, and then Foxy is like, haha, just kidding. Now I'll use the beam. Where Luffy thought he was going to use it, like, in his direction on the ground, so he jumps. Foxy waited until he jumped, and he's like, haha, just kidding. Now I'll use it while you're in the air and you're defenseless. Come on, Luffy. That one was easy. That one was like something a kid on the playground would do to be like, haha, just messed with you. Now I'm actually going to do this. It's like, it worked. It worked on Luffy. All right. He did the cannonball shtick. He also had the face bombs, you know, where Foxy has this specialized cannon of, like, the cannonballs shaped like his face. So he fires them, and then he uses the slow beam, and then it looks like it's like the infinity kind of effect where there's like a bunch of faces coming at Luffy, and Luffy's like, I don't know which one's the real one, and then Foxy just, you know, hides amongst the faces, and he's like, by the way, I'm the real one. Boom, and he hits Luffy, right? These are all tricks that I feel like a smarter character would have been able to notice and avoid. Like, I don't think Foxy would have been able to get one up over on Crocodile with these kinds of tricks. I don't think he's one-upping Raw Bellucci or Magellan with these kind of, like, you know, playground antics or whatever. But they were able to work on Luffy, right? And Luffy was at his strongest here. He had an afro in this fight, right? So, because they're made of photons, they are photons, mirrors, just like mirrors can reflect light, they work here too. So, Foxy can actually utilize mirrors to, like, redirect the photons. He can only send them out in one direction, okay? So, you know, when he actually wants to send them in like, corners and stuff, he has to use mirrors for that and everything. And then Luffy ultimately has a mirror inside of his glove, and he punches Foxy. He uses the slow beam, bounces back on Foxy, and then Foxy gets slowed down, right? There you go, okay? So, mirrors are a weakness to this ability. I think later on in one of the fillers, I am very scattershotted with the Foxy fillers. I'm sure there are many I haven't even watched. I think Foxy figures out a way to get around this, but, like, whatever. I don't care enough to go watch the fillers. I'm not watching the Spa Island arc. I don't care if Nami's in a bikini the entire time. That's not worth it. Foxy's there. By the way, can we ask another question? How the hell did Foxy pull an absolute baddie like Porsche, or Portia, or however you pronounce her name? You know, I know she was rather vain and arrogant, which kind of goes along with Foxy's personality there, but, I mean, yeah. She rocks that swimsuit, I'm just saying. Okay, all right, anyway. So, we covered the mirrors, we covered the face bomb techniques, we covered the cannonballs and everything like that. Oh, yeah, okay, so let's talk about how this completely screws over physics a little bit. I don't even think, here's the thing. I don't know enough about physics to properly articulate how this screws up physics. Okay, I am aware that light is, you know, you have a spectrum of light, right? The human eye can only see a certain part of the light spectrum, right? So, I know that it goes from, like, you know, there's, like, radio waves that are, like, you know, the longest, or, like, I don't even know how to describe this. Like, gamma rays and cosmic rays are really bunched together like this. Radio waves are, like, really wavy like this. I don't know the proper terminology there. Longer, shorter waves. I guess the radio waves would be longer waves and the cosmic rays would be shorter waves right now. I don't know. Okay. But it goes like that. And then the visible light spectrum is kind of like right here, right? And then on one end of the visible light spectrum, you have the infrared. And then on the other end, you have ultraviolet. I'm assuming, considering this light is purple, maybe it's closer to the ultraviolet end of that spectrum. So I like to find it funny that Foxy is just pelting people with ultraviolet radiation. It's some form of radiation. You gotta give me that, right? Even the sun hitting us, that's radiation. That gives you skin cancer and shit, all right? So, like, whatever he's doing here, firing off these slow-motion photons or whatever, that's probably going to have a negative effect on people if he keeps doing it over and over again, right? I don't know if that's a long-term ability, but maybe it is, right? So, yeah. Anyway, when he hits somebody with this, if it's just one part of their body, that one part of the body slows down. So Luffy stretches out his know me, and he goes to throw a punch. Foxy uses the slow-mo beam to slow down Luffy's punch. Now, the rest of his body can move perfectly fine, but he tries to retract his fist, and he can't do it. It's like, I can't. And then after the 30 seconds, whoa, okay, now I can finally retract. Okay, or rather, he can, but it's just really, really slow. So that's, like, affecting part of the body here. Like, how would this even work? Like, the only way for this to work is it wouldn't have anything to do with Luffy's biology. It would have everything to do with, like, Foxy literally messing with the laws of the universe, right? Like, it would have to be something like that. Like, he's messing with time. But does time even exist? Oh my God, I'm getting tell you what, if I ever feel like I'm gonna sit down and read about this, I'm just like, I'll read Stephen Hawking's books or something like that. I'll let you know, right? Okay, but at any rate, that's how it works with just a portion of the body. You can't just physically control that part of the body for like 30 seconds. When he gets completely hit by the slow beam. So, Luffy gets hit by it, and then he's like, his whole body is frozen in the middle of the air while he was falling. So, like I said, it has nothing to do with your biology so much, because Luffy was in the air, Foxy hits him with the slow motion beam, he stops falling. Foxy's fucking with gravity there, right? Right? Things fall at a constant rate. I don't know what it is in the One Piece world. In our world, I think it's like 9.82 meters per second squared, if you remove, like, wind resistance and everything. But things fall. He's messing with that shit. Foxy needs to be stopped, man. Seriously, okay? So anyway, Luffy freezes in midair. Foxy throws a punch and hits Luffy while he's in that frozen state, okay? So that doesn't really do much damage to Luffy, because Foxy's weak. Even with his boxing gloves, Foxy's not that strong. But Foxy just bombards Luffy and just does like a rush attack. Like, 27 hit combo. Boom, 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 and just hits Luffy like crazy. And then after the 30 seconds are over, Foxy jumps off. He goes to a safe distance. He's like, that felt good just now. I hit the crap out of you. And then it resumes, and Luffy just, and then he just gets pile drived into the ground with all the pain, okay? And it still really didn't hurt him. It's Luffy. But all the impact from the punches just hit him all at once, like a truck, okay? Slammed him into the ground. And he's like, oh, I gotta be careful. I gotta watch that, right? Okay, so that's messing with, inertia. It's probably a term there. Inertia, force, acceleration, mass. I'm just reading off various things here. Acceleration. Yeah, there's probably acceleration in there somewhere. Yeah. This would be, if I was a physics teacher, if my life had gone differently, and I was a physics teacher right now, and I still liked One Piece, this is the kind of shit I would put on, like, a final as, like, a bonus question, right? Like, at the very end of the exam, I would put, like, Foxy uses the power of slow-motion photons, a special kind of photon that are not discovered by science as of yet. The photons allow everything to be reduced by a factor of, I don't know, half for everything entering it. If a cannonball traveling at this velocity flies through the Noro beam, how much will it slow down before it reaches its final destination? like something like that. Like a bonus question. Like, let's just have the physics students have fun with that shit, right? Like, okay. Oh, man. Okay. Let's see, attacks. What's he got here? Yeah, he's got the beam. He's got the rush ability. We did that. The face bombs. The mirror racket. He basically takes out like a tennis racket of a mirror, and he could fire the beam off different directions that way. Oh, he has a sword. He has a beam sword. Yeah, so Foxy's got like this Tonto, like, knife thing in his belt, and he takes that off, and he basically makes a lightsaber. I mean, it's a lightsaber whip. Has there ever been a lightsaber whip in the Star Wars expanded universe? I am sure there probably has to. Wait, no, let me guess. Okay, hold on a minute. All right. I don't know anything about the Star Wars expanded universe. I've only seen the original trilogy and, like, one of the prequels, okay? I'm going to assume there's somewhere in the Star Wars universe a person that has a lightsaber whip and, like, check out my lightsaber whip. And then somebody grabs the whip, traps it with their own lightsaber, and then throws them over a cliff into a giant pile of magma. Does that happen somewhere in one of the expanded universes? I don't know, but that would be cool if it did. Okay, anyway. So he has the beam sword, and it's the same basic thing. It's just condensing the photons into the shape of a sword. because that's how photons work like that, right? Yeah, okay. So you just compress that into a sword or a whip, and then you hit somebody whip it at a distance. And if you like whip their arm, then their arm slows down. If you whip them across their, I guess, all the way down through their body, their whole body slows down. You know, stuff like that. That's how that works. And I think those are the only canon abilities he has. He has a couple of more things, but they're non-canon, and we don't talk about non-canon here. But yeah, that's his ability. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating, okay? Because like I said at the beginning of this, Oda could have just had this an ability where, like, whoever Foxy points at or whatever Foxy, maybe he could have had the lightsaber ability, whatever he cuts with this ability or whatever he punches or physically comes in contact with slows down. And it's like nobody would have questioned it. Nobody would have been like, well, how does that work scientifically? Like, it doesn't. It's just, it's manga, right? But the fact he went into detail with it, and he also, like, said, like, oh, these particles are not completely understood by science yet, which also makes it, wait. Since Foxy says they aren't completely understood yet, does that mean that Foxy went to a scientist at one point to try to figure out how his devil fruit power worked? Who would he have went to? Wait a minute. How old is Foxy? Do we know? Foxy is only 38. Oh, he was born during God Valley. During the middle of the greatest war in One Piece. The greatest, evilest pirates. The most noble marines, amidst a game of absolute depravity by the celestial dragons, a child was born, brought into this world screaming, and that child that will hail upon the prophecy to save the world from evil was Foxy the Silver Fox. So Foxy's 38 years old, so he's a little bit, I don't know when he got his devil fruit ability. He used to be a boxer before he was going around, you know, being the Davy Backfight pirate and everything like that. He was actually kicked out of the boxing league. By the way, there's a boxing league in One Piece. It has rules and regulations just like in our world. That is canon. Because he was like using like the barbed wire in his glove or whatever. He's using explosives in his gloves, and, you know, he's like, you're kicked out of the boxing league, Foxy. And so Foxy went to be a pirate. I mean, you go from boxer to pirate, makes the most sense, I suppose. So I don't know if he would have been too young to have the devil fruit and then met with Mads, but maybe a little bit later, you know, maybe at some point he met with Judge or Caesar. I could see Caesar and Foxy hanging out, or Queen maybe even. Like, hey, can you figure out how these photons work? And Queen is like, oh, funk, that's, I don't know how these work exactly, but whatever. You know, maybe, I don't know. I don't think he went to go see Vegapunk, but Caesar, Judge, or Queen, I could see him running into any of those people and asking them about it, and they don't really understand, and they're just like, okay, yeah. So, yeah, anyway, that's Foxy's ability. It makes things go slow motion. So just pack a hand mirror and you'll be fine. So anyway, that's the video. What's next? Let me check the list. Let me mark Foxy off the list. All right, there we go. By the way, I'm using this special marker. It is a special Aaron Rodgers signed Sharpie marker. Yeah, there we go. Aaron Rodgers Green from the Green Bay Packers. It all comes full circle if you've ever seen Isekai D&D. All right, so the next one we're talking about is going to be, we're not doing the zones. The zones are going to be after the Paramecias. I'm also going to mix in the two Logias that I did not do yet. I have actually not done a dedicated video on Caesar's Gas fruit or Monet's Yuki no Mi, the Snow fruit. This is where it gets confusing, because I've made videos discussing those characters before. And I did a video talking about, like, the theory about her devil fruit being taken by, like, Vivi or somebody. Like, Monet's fruit being reincarnated. But I've yet to actually make a fruit dedicated about that ability and all the stuff you can do with it, okay? So we're going to do the Paramecias. We're going to fit the Logias in there. And then after that is all done, we're going to move on to the zones, all right? But with that being said, the next video is going to be Very Good's Berry no Mi, one of the captains at Eni's lobby that has the ability to break his body up into a bunch of orbs. That'll be a fun video. All right, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. But before we go, we got to talk about Tree Facts, letter O, Orange trees. We're doing this in honor of Nami with this one. I know they're more tangerines or mekons, but the orange tree. So humans have been cultivating orange trees for about 4,000 years, give or take. We don't know exactly, but it's most likely they began cultivation in China and Southeast Asia, and that was the general region where oranges came from. Keep in mind, with anything that has been cultivated by humans, like with agriculture and everything, the original form of that plant did not look like it does now. Like, go back and look at the way corn looked or wheat looked like 10,000 years ago before agriculture really got going. Looks very, very different. We've done a lot of, like, selective stuff to get it to the crazy level we're at right now. I'm not even talking about, like genetically modifying the stuff like we can with modern technology. I'm just talking about, like, you know, selectively planting the particular seeds that we know are going to do well, and then we take the best from that crop, and then we grow that, and then we just keep repeating that process until we get huge versions of the stuff from their natural state, okay? So they have white blossoms on their tree. There's 5 petals. These are called orange blossoms. They'll eventually become the orange fruit. They grow right now not just in China and Southeast Asia, but also Mexico, Spain, the United States, and Brazil. If you live down in Florida, there's orange trees and stuff all down in Florida and everything. Like California has some orange trees, I believe. I remember there was a movie, completely off topic, but there was a movie I watched when I was a kid. It was a really bad B movie from the 70s. I think it was actually on YouTube. It's called Tarantulas Deadly Cargo, and it's about a bunch of tarantulas from South America ending up in an orange plantation in California. And the tarantulas go around and, like, start biting people in the town. Everybody's dying and no one knows what's to go on. And the final showdown with the tarantulas is inside of the orange factory. We should watch that sometime on, like, the vlog channel or something. If it's on YouTube, I kind of want to watch that because that was a really silly kind of B movie when I was growing up. But anyway, there's a bunch of different kinds of oranges out there. What are your favorites? Navel oranges, Valencia oranges, blood oranges, Seville oranges, and mandarin oranges. Yeah, they're high in vitamin C. I think everybody kind of knew that. Good fiber, antioxidants. You can use their zest for a garnish on various dishes and, like, baked goods. I've done that before. You can actually go to the store and buy, like, orange peel as, like, a spice in, like, the spice aisle. I like to just take like a microplane or something with an orange and just, you know, grind it there, or, you know, shred it and just make my own. But, like, there you go. It's pretty good. I have an orange zest on things. Yeah, there was that. The orange trees. Okay, so that's in honor of Nami. There you go. All right, anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, ladies and gentlemen. Next one will be, yeah, very good. We're going to do very good, and then Sharing Guru, both captains in Enies Lobby. The next one that's going to be relevant is going to be Hawkins. I made a theory video about Hawkins' ability years ago, but I never actually, because, like, his ability was revealed later because it's weird, because it involves the straw, but it also has tarot cards involved in it. So I think I need to go back and do a dedicated video on Hawkins. So that'll be, like, the next one after these 2 captains from Enies Lobby that'll probably be, like, relevant to the story. If Hawkins isn't dead, which he probably is, but whatever. This will be in memoriam to Hawkins. All right, thanks for watching. Techig signing out. End screen later.